then, for the fourth time. Ugh. I've been trying to record this video for the last 48 hours, and every time I do, the audio stops working. So I'm going to keep a close eye. Sorry if I look away on the camera. I'm not being rude, I'm just trying to make sure that the audio is carrying on recording. Fucking In this video, I want to talk about album of the year. And it's something that I've been doing now for about 10 years. Every year I pick my favourite album of that year. And every year they follow a similar pattern. I have to love every single song on that album. The first time I started kind of recognising it was in 2009 with Jamie T's Sticks and Stones. An incredible album I highly recommend going back and listening to if you've never heard before. And then other years, for example, was Watch the Throne by Kanye and Jay-Z. That was in 2011. In 2016, I really struggled to find just one album that I fell in love with. So I ended up putting 4 albums as my album of the year. They were 99.9% by Kate Renata, Drive North by Swimmers, Spiritual Songs for Lovers to Sing by Le, and The Life of Pablo by Kanye West. Last year, that grew from 4 to 5. I became obsessed with the Formation debut album, Mr. Duke's debut album, Idol's debut album, and then I loved the latest Queens of the Stone Age and Arcade Fire album. These albums represent more than just a great body of work in my opinion. They are something so much more than that. They actually teleport me back to a time in my life. Listening to a song instantly takes me back to that place. And that could be a gig or a festival, it could be a holiday or something kind of mundane like your commute to work. But instantly when I listen to one of the records on those albums, I'm taken back. On top of this, each record has to stand by itself. It has to be something that stands out from the rest and also works well in collaboration with the rest of the album. So what is it this year? Have I got to 6? Have I gone to 7 albums? 10 albums? This year I've only had one favourite album. But before I go into that, I kind of want to talk a little bit about some of the albums that I was excited about and why they weren't selected. First of all is Yay by Kanye West. Now Kanye is someone that's actually been in my album of the year twice. Watch the Throne in 2011, T-Lop in 2016. So when he said he was releasing a new album, I got very, very excited. And what Kanye did this year was amazing. He released 5 albums with 5 people over 5 weeks. That, granted they're only 8 tracks long, but that's a hell of a lot of work and something that is a hell of an achievement. He worked with Nas, he worked with Pusha T, he worked with Kid Cudi on their project Kids See Ghosts, he worked with Teyana Taylor, and he also did his own album, and that was all in 5 weeks. But before I go into my problem with Ye, I also want to talk about Scorpion by Drake. Now Drake is one of those artists that I thoroughly enjoy. Some of his music is my favourite and I listen to a lot. But this year he released Scorpion, which was his 10th record. Granted, 3 of those 10 are mixtapes, but they went platinum for fuck's sake, so I'm classing them as an album. Basically, he's been pretty much consistently releasing a large body of work every single year. And the problem with Scorpion was it was a double album, so it went from just being 1 album a year to actually a double album is a significant amount of work. It's very rare you get good double albums. Most of the time they're an EP wrapped around lots of filler. And actually I don't think that Scorpion's any different from that. Don't get me wrong, there's some great records in it. I love Survival, I love God's Plan, Emotionless, 8 out of 10, Sandra's Rose, In My Feelings, and Don't Matter to Me with Michael Jackson are, you know, really great records. But the rest of the album is utter garbage. It's utter trash. And to bring Kanye back into the fold of this, I've got this problem with what a lot of particularly rappers do these days, and that is focus more on quantity than quality. They're consistently releasing new music rather than consistently releasing good music. I remember having an argument with someone once about who claimed that Drake was the best because he was putting out the most music, and I said Andre 3000 was the best, and they said it's easy to say you're the best when you only release a track every 5 years. And you know, they're right, but you know, I think it's really important to look at your quality. Like, if you're just going to constantly put out garbage, then you become garbage. My problem with what Ye was doing was that's too much to focus on. If you're focusing that much on others, then something has to give. The quality has to give. you know, some people have 10 years between albums. Look at Dre. And so I kind of feel that unless you've really got something that you need to talk about, then you don't need to do another album. But, you know, don't get me wrong, I think there was some great stuff in Yay. I think there was some great stuff around that whole kind of Wyoming project with him that he did was great. And as I said, there was some good stuff with Drake. And the beef that came out between Pusha T and Drake was absolutely phenomenal. It was one of my favourite in hip-hop history. I loved the rebuttal that Drake gave to Pusha T. And then when Pusha came back with the story of Adidon, oh my lord, that was phenomenal. So certainly something that I'd highly recommend checking out, but it doesn't, I wanted to like that more. Really what they should have done is just taken the good bits and stuck them together in one album rather than 3 or 4 albums. Another album that I really wanted to like more was A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships by the 1975. It was destined for success, especially with the kind of 5 singles they released before the album came out. I thought that we were on to an absolute winner. But I kind of feel that once I started listening to it, that I'd already heard the best of it. It felt a little bit like going and seeing a comedy when all of the best jokes were in the trailer. And there's some good there are some good album tracks, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it I didn't like. About half of it I didn't like. Joy is an Act of Resistance by Idols was an album that I was really excited for, but also it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Drake and Kanye and those guys. I think it's slightly different here. The problem I have with that is I didn't have a hunger for it, because last year Brutalism was my album of the year. This year they release another record, and the thing with Idols is their sound is very similar, and I like that. I like that sound, so it's fine. I didn't have it missing. I didn't have a yearning for it. So when it came, oh, we've got a new album out, it was a little bit like, oh, okay, cool. Don't get me wrong, I think Danny Nadelko and Colossus are 2 of my favourite records of the year. They're absolutely brilliant, and yeah, I love those records. But and you know what, I probably just haven't given it enough time of day. I'll probably go back to it at some point in the next 6 months and go, wow, that's incredible. But yeah, there's certainly it didn't feel, it felt maybe just too close to their last release for me to be excited about it. But I think the biggest problem is I didn't give it enough time of day. The same can be said actually for the Magic Gang and Pale Waves. They both released their debut albums this year, and I really wanted to like them, but they didn't grab me on the first listen. So again, I'll probably go back to that in the next few months and really like them. But yeah, I probably didn't give them enough time of day, but I really wanted to. So, you know, I'd like, if you're watching this and love those albums, let me know what songs are the best. But I just didn't get the chance to get obsessed with them. And the same was said for Florence's album, actually. You know, I actually really liked Florence's album. I couldn't fault it. I think it's great. There wasn't as much hype as I wanted there to be around it, and I always think that helps, but I did like pretty much every song on that album. I just didn't get obsessed with it in a way that I think Album of the Year deserves. A very close contender was Kamikaze by Eminem. That was his 10th studio album. It's more of a reaction, if you will, to his 9th album, Revival, which got absolutely slated and critically panned. But it also worked as this amazing commentary on the current state of hip-hop. It talked a lot about kind of some of the mumble rappers, and in that opening track it just gunned for everyone, and I loved that. It's just he put into words what I was thinking about a lot of it, and I think that was really great. The problem I had with the album was that there were a couple of tracks that sounded a little corny and a little kind of cheesy. Sometimes Eminem does that, and I wish he wouldn't do that. But yeah, those few tracks I just couldn't stomach, therefore they didn't work with me. However, the beef that it started with Machine Gun Kelly was phenomenal. When I first said Rap Devil, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is utter tripe. You have not listened to the album. You haven't listened to what he has to say if you think that going and making some mumble bullshit album about it is going to make a difference. So then when he came back into Kill Shot, oh my lord, that is an absolute demonstration in how to destroy your opponent with words. It's just absolutely incredible. One that I listened to loads and loads and loads and loads. Which takes me to this year, which takes me to my favourite album of the year. My favourite album of the year is a debut album. It's an album that I loved every single track on, and that belongs to the South London based Shame. When I started writing this video, I was feeling a bit pants, a bit shit, because this album came out in January, and very early on in like February I decided that it was going to be one of the contenders for Album of the Year. And throughout the year I was listening to other stuff going, is this going to work, isn't it? And as I listened to more and more, nothing was living up to that same level that I regard for Album of the Year. So I kind of started writing this video and was thinking, am I putting this album in for the sake of it? And then I hit play, and from start to finish this record is an absolute monster. From the somewhat kind of haunting lyrics of Dust on Trial to the indie punk disco-y sound of One Rizzler or Lampoon. But if you think I love you, you've got the wrong idea. If it's considered rude, if it's considered rude, if it's considered rude. To the kind of eerie and uncomfortable sounding The Lick.
So in the past week I've made several trips to the gynecologist.
And to the incredible characterization and kind of storytelling of Gold Hole.
But she feels so good in Louis Vuitton.
Songs of Praise is an absolute demonstration in British indie punk, and a wonderful commentary on kind of 2018 life in kind of a pre/post-Brexit Britain. It's just an absolute amazing work of art. As I said, each track was one that was my favourite this year, and I was doing a video this year, I was thinking about doing a video where I talk about my favourite songs of the year, kind of like a best of music club type thing, and to do that I created my most listened to tracks of 2018 playlist in iTunes. 4 tracks from this album made it to that list, so there's certainly something that I do hold each track individually in high regard, but there is one track that stands above the rest, and that's One Rizzler, which is just an amazing indie rock anthem whilst also being this really kind of hard and aggressive, energetic song. My biggest regret of the year was not seeing them at Reading. I was telling my girlfriend about this, talking to my girlfriend about this. 2017, biggest regret, only regret, not seeing Haim at Reading on the Sunday. Only regret of 2018, my only regret was not seeing Shame on the main stage on the Sunday. And then she reminded me that it was raining. And it was raining, like a lot. So yeah, gutted, and I'll just have to make sure I go check them out another time. So in in a year where albums disappointed me so much, I want to thank Shame for providing a bit of light, and a light at the end of the tunnel. And just an amazing album that has helped soundtrack my year. I'd love to know what your favourite album of the year was. Is this something that you like to do? I mean, as I said, I've done it every year, and I'd happily go in and talk about previous entries, but I think I might try and start doing this every year. But album of the year this year, Shame, what a wonderful record it is. What's your favourite? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to know why. And any recommendations you got for me, it's always good to hear. I will be doing a video about some stuff that I'm excited to see next year, but regardless, Happy New Year, have a good one, bye.